king, baby.
You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you know what you're getting into. Yes, I'm here to defend and come to the defense of Avowed. The new, fresh, hip, fantasy first-person RPG on the market. The new Skyrim. What a load of shit. It's not Skyrim, it's not even a Bethesda game. I hate all these buzzwords. Oh, the next Skyrim, the next Fallout. Blah, 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 blah. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. No, it's not. It is an Obsidian Entertainment RPG. It is reminiscent to other things they have made, whether it be Stick of Truth, The Outer Worlds, KOTOR, and so on we can go. Shares very little with something like Fallout New Vegas, or anything of Bethesda's ilk. The only thing that it has in common with Elder Scrolls is the adventure aspect, the sense of discovery, the dungeons. That's about it. It actually rewards you much more than Skyrim or Oblivion or Morrowind does for your exploration. There's a lot more chests, a lot more loot, a lot more things to find. That isn't just random stuff to pick up, because obviously that's a point of contention where people are like, oh, you can't hit cups and there's not a lot of physics other than, enemy physics. Okay. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It serves no purpose in this game. It's obviously not part of the engine, and they didn't feel as if it was something that needed to be in the game. The Outer Worlds also didn't really have it. I have a feeling it's of a similar engine, if not the same engine as the Outer Worlds. I'm sure the Outer Worlds 2 will also not have crazy physics, but guess what? I guarantee it'll still be a good game. I think this is a good game. Avowed is being called woke, which nowadays people use as a term for pushing political agendas and ideologies in media, video games, movies, television, and so on. But originally, woke was a meaning that you were conscious and aware of the political landscape and aware of things going on in the world outside of the mainstream. But much like words, and of course the English language, the meaning behind these things changes every single day. Avowed is a game that is much like The Outer Worlds in the sense that it's scaled back and scaled down. They said that it's not one giant open world, it's a series of medium to large worlds. Much like The Outer Worlds. And people had a lot of problems with that with The Outer Worlds. And I'm sure they're going to have problems with it in Avowed, and they're going to have problems with it in The Outer Worlds too. I personally don't have an issue with it. I think all of these small to medium to large open worlds, and then you go to a new one, and then another one, and another one, you can travel back and forth, is actually better. And the reason I say that is because when you take one giant open world like a Skyrim, or even a Red Dead, or so on, while they are amazing and beautiful to look at and full of things to do, for the most part, there's a lot of dead space. Something that these smaller to medium-sized open worlds offer Avowed and games that have a similar world design philosophy, much like games like The Outer Worlds, or games like Mass Effect to a degree, or Metro Exodus, or even Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, is that they're able to make these worlds that are not gigantic like a Red Dead, but they're filled and packed to the brim with things to do. Sometimes too much, and sometimes maybe not enough, but they're still much more dense and full of depth in comparison to a world that is a lot more empty. Now you could say, having a world like Skyrim, where there is a lot to do, but there also are long stretches of nothing going on, is a good thing, because it allows you time to get immersed in the world. And I feel like from even my few hours with Avowed, you still have that opportunity, even though there are a lot more things to do. I think Avowed and games like it use a similar design choice, much like Hogwarts Legacy, where it was like was it like the 6-second rule or something like that? I think The Witcher 3 had like a 10-second rule, where it was like every 6 to 10 seconds or 20 seconds, you see a point of interest, or you see a quest, or a chest, or something to interact with, or something to do, which keeps you engaged and keeps you doing all these different things, which is not a bad thing. Some people like it, some people don't like it. But I'm here to say that, like, Avowed is good. Avowed is fun. I don't think it's woke. I mean, yeah, okay, you can pick whether you're a he, she, or they at the beginning. Oh no. You know, the world's crumbling, coming to an end. I think that that choice alone might be the end of society. No, that's just stupid. It's such naive and ignorant to think that something like that matters. Yes, it's inclusive to people who want it, and it's a choice that makes absolutely no difference to those who don't. They even give you an option to show it or not show it on your character sheet. It's unimportant. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. What matters is your experience with the game, your adventure, the story you're telling, the choices, and the consequence from your actions. The character that you build, the weapons you choose to use, the armor you wear, the enemies you fight, and the journey you go on. That's what matters. Not some arbitrary choice in a character creator, or the lack of depth within the creator, even though it's no worse and no better than that of Fallout 4 and certainly Skyrim. It's just like the Outer Worlds being compared to Fallout New Vegas. Oh, the Outer Worlds, it's not enough like Fallout New Vegas. It doesn't have this and that and blah 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 blah. It's like, but yeah, the Outer Worlds isn't Fallout New Vegas. There was a very small amount of people who were still at Obsidian who worked on Fallout New Vegas who also worked on the Outer Worlds. In fact, the Outer Worlds is more so a Fallout 1 or even Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines spiritual successor in design. It teeters on the border of being an immersive sim at times, yet it's still full of choice and consequence while being a bite-sized RPG that you can 100% in like 30 hours. It's not a bad thing. Yeah, I also love getting lost in games and being able to play for 80 to 500 hours or something, but that doesn't mean that you can't just replay the game. You can't just keep going and whatever. Avowed seems to be a significantly longer game than the Outer Worlds. I've been seeing people putting 20 to 30 hours just in the first area before even getting to the next area. I don't know how many areas there are in the game. I don't know what the average completion time is, but I definitely know I saw a YouTube video that said over 100 hours, so it's definitely a game that you can get even more lost in, that's even longer in both the story department as well as what is offered on the side. The game director, Carrie Patel, has worked with the studio for at least since Pillars of Eternity, maybe a little bit before that. And yet people are like, oh, she's just woken up the game, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, man, like the game has so much love and passion poured into it, so much lore and things from the Pillars of Eternity universe, from everything that I've seen and from everyone I've seen talk about it. Carrie Patel seems really cool, down to earth, and genuine. The game seemingly went through 6 years of development on top of 2 reboots and initially being a multiplayer take on Skyrim. I mean, that's development hell at its finest. That's a story like Dead Island 2 or Cyberpunk. Yet they still came out the other end with a solid game that honestly is extremely surprising it even released. People don't understand that Obsidian kind of spreads themselves thin. They're basically a AA studio with now AAA money, but they spread out and do things like Grounded and Pentiment and the Outer Worlds around the same time, and then they're also developing games like Avowed and the Outer Worlds 2 and who knows what else, all kind of simultaneously. And they also like support their other studios within the Xbox ecosystem of game studios, and they lend tech to An Exile for Wasteland 3, and they help out with these things and those things, much like Bethesda has with id, or id has with Bethesda, vice versa. I just hate to see all this discourse around a game and just calling it this and calling it that, when I just see everything saying that. Indiana Jones was called woke because it had a Nazi say that it's easy to manipulate insecure white males. I mean, sure, he could have said males in general, not just white, but that's the wording, okay? You can take from that what you want, in the context of it being used on 2 occasions, and the second occasion actually being less egregious in its wording, is actually very appropriate, both for the character of Indiana Jones at the time, and also the character in question that it is referring to. Not just some placeholder white man sucks kind of thing. And Avowed doesn't do any of that either. Like, I'm so impressed by Avowed. Everybody else is talking shit, other than, you know, you got Dave Oshry and a few others going like, yeah, this is pretty awesome, I like this, I'm having a great time, 30 hours in and it's a blast. That's what I want to hear. Like, just sit down and enjoy a video game and understand that it doesn't have to be the greatest thing on earth, but it also doesn't have to be anything less or anything. It doesn't matter. Just have fun. And if you don't like it, guess what? Don't play it. Don't make clickbait videos. Don't make clickbait titles and posts or whatever about it that are just false. It's like the Suicide Squad's whole ordeal, where they just took this and this and this and this and bits and pieces and took it out of context and used it to create this large narrative of misinformation, and it just blows my mind. So that's a lot of time of just sitting there stating how much this game is not Skyrim. It's an Obsidian game, and talking about what is and what isn't woke, because what a stupid term that I hate all the way down to my bones. But with that all out of the way, and the fact that there are still people enjoying the game, it is still getting relatively well reviewed while still getting absolutely shit on by so many people all the time. But I keep seeing this large minority of people who just hate on everything that comes out so often, and it's become so common. It just, it irks me. But with that out of the way, I'm enjoying my handful of hours that I've had in Avowed. The game is beautiful to look at. The graphics are impressive. The animations are cool. It's actually surprisingly more animation heavy than I thought, with like opening doors and picking locks and doing all these different things. The magic, oh man, the magic is so much fun. The pistol is cool to use. I don't know if there's any more gun-like weapons. It seems like there might be a blunderbuss and some things like that. Those seem cool. You know, the melee weapons are fun. It actually, funnily enough, reminds me of Dead Island 2's melee combat, or maybe even Atomic Heart just a little bit. And while it doesn't feel, maybe not as good by comparison to an Elder Scrolls, per se, it does feel fun to use. It is kind of more arcadey, and I think that's fine and fitting for what kind of game it is. I found out that Garrus, the voice actor for Garrus anyway, is the same voice actor for your big shark buddy, Kai, which is cool. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I can kind of hear the resemblance, but there's a bit of a difference in the tone. And also, just exploring is fun. Finding a treasure map and not actually being told where to go. Like, it didn't tell me specifically where to go. It just gave me a picture. You know, it's much like finding a treasure map in Skyrim, or finding a treasure map in Red Dead Redemption. You know, you gotta, oh, this is where it is. Let me try to find this on the map. Let me try to figure out where this is at. And the map isn't like a 3D map, so you can't really determine that way. So you gotta kind of literally take the picture, the drawing, or whatever, and figure that out. I kind of actually just accidentally stumbled upon it, and I was like, oh, where's that? And I actually still can't find the treasure. It's I'm like in the right area, I'm just not finding the spot. But it's still cool that you can do that. It's cool that you can go fight bosses and caves and stuff, and it's more gamey in that sense. It's cool that you can set up camp and have these, you know, fireside chats with your companions. I actually really think it's cool that the original dialogue that they kind of showed off for the Outer Worlds, that was a more in-engine versus in-game capture thing, where it kind of showed the character, you know, it was kind of like off to the side in a way, and the way they kind of did that. And it didn't quite turn out that way, even though they still did some really cool things with the Outer Worlds dialogue system, because there's a lot more emotion, moving, different characters getting involved in conversation, and people really didn't talk about how much the Outer Worlds, while staying similar to that Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas dialogue system, actually evolved it in so many ways and added a lot more emotion. Avowed actually found a way to step that up one more time. Because while dialogue functions very much the same as the Outer Worlds, it's actually from a perspective that's not directly dead on ahead. The game isn't super HUD heavy, so it's not like, you know, but it's not like you're looking straight at them. It's kind of angled a little bit, and it's a bit more free-flowing, and the game just looks so good that it literally looks like that in-engine conversation from that one trailer for the Outer Worlds the whole time you're talking, because like the whole time, every time I'm in a conversation, I'm like, this looks like a game trailer. It doesn't even look like I'm playing the game. And honestly, just everything is so detailed and, you know, just handcrafted and looks beautiful and amazing. It's the sense of wonder and adventure, the sense of discovery, and just, I want to go do this thing, or climbing to the top of a tower and leap of faith off of it while your character goes, ah! You just learn how to dive like a proper assassin, I guess. Yeah, it's just so much fun, and it's in that sense, it's reminiscent to every Bethesda game, where the sense of discovery is so powerful. And I actually think that that's something that it has over the Outer Worlds, something it has over other Obsidian games, is that sense of discovery is even more powerful than it ever has been before, because there's something about a fantasy world, and people just kind of get drawn in. There's so much there, there's something about a world full of castles and magic and forests and things to explore, a mystery and a narrative to unravel. I'm excited to see what choice and consequence you have in comparison to something like the Outer Worlds. I'm also curious to see how much time I end up putting in the game, given that it seems to be significantly longer than the Outer Worlds. If it's a game that you can put 30 plus hours in the first area, whereas that's like your cap almost for 100%ing a first playthrough of the Outer Worlds, that's pretty damn good. And if that's anything to go by, I hope that the Outer Worlds 2 takes a page from that book and also makes a significantly longer game so that we can get even more sucked in, because I would replay the Outer Worlds like 100 times. The game is so good, so much fun. I want to try new things, and it's really good. It's also pretty fresh on my mind because I recently, when I was sick a while back, sat down and finally beat the Outer Worlds. Did everything I could possibly do in the game. Played all the DLC. And had a freaking amazing experience. And so it's really easy to compare it now to Avowed. I've even been playing Indiana Jones, so it's like that's also a comparison point, And I still think that it's wild to me that people are so heavily criticizing the game and so heavily talking down about the game. Maybe it's just something that's become more and more common in the video game industry these days, where we just want to heavily criticize everything. Everything needs to be a masterpiece. Everything needs to be perfect. Nothing can be flawed. We can't have bugs in our games. We can't have glitches in our games. Yet some of the games that are considered some of the greatest games of all time are some of the buggiest messes to this day. Games like Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, holy shit, they are filled with problems, bugs and issues and glitches, and the excuse is always, well, they're old. Okay, well, so did Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Are they older? Sure, okay. Well, let's think of some other ones. Why don't we? Something like Elden Ring, perhaps? It's a pretty buggy mess at times. It's got a lot of issues, bugs, and glitches, but it's still funny. It's fun to look at and laugh at. Who cares? Bugs and glitches are part of it. Okay? It's created with computers, by humans. Nobody's perfect, and shit happens. Enjoy the bug, okay? Enjoy hitting an enemy and they fly across the map. Some of my favorite games are buggy as hell. Games like Dead Island. I once hit a picket fence with a truck in Dead Island and flew halfway across the resort map and landed in front of a bunker. In an online match. I mean, come on. It's always fun and funny to do that stuff. Does it suck when you lose game progress or get a corrupted save? Yeah, of course. But if it's something that doesn't hinder your game, like doesn't break your game, destroy quests and saves, and it's just something that's like immersion breaking, just laugh at it, have a good time. I think more people just need to enjoy games, and if you have Game Pass, there's no reason not to have an absolute blast playing this game. You definitely will get your money's worth out of that. Like what, $20 a month now? So you get what, you pay $20, you get to play a $70 game and spend 100 plus hours in it probably. I mean, that's worthwhile to me. And even if you're buying it, I think it's a game you can get sucked into and spend a good bit of time in it and just have a good time. Yeah, so this is just me off of my impressions of the game, my handful of hours, defending it, telling you that it's not woke garbage. It's not some kind of political, forced ideological mess of modern bullshit shoved down your throat. No, it's just a good, pure, old school fantasy action RPG experience that deserves to be played, deserves to be talked about and just deserves to be explored. I'll see you out there in the living lands, but for now, the Forge is calling me, and as you know, I must answer. So I'll see you all next time. Thanks to Osh and Medium, and actually, a new Patreon member, Melancholy Geek, who has been the biggest supporter of myself, Quad Damage, and other endeavors within this community. And I thank you and everyone else for all the support. Till next time.